Welcome back to From Fear to Fun, the podcast where we explore how to transform medical encounters with children from moments of fear into opportunities for fun, with connection, confidence and cooperation. I'm so glad that you are here. Today's episode explores why translation is not optional, it's a skill. And like any skill, it requires awareness, practice, and humility. Medical information can easily get lost in the translation. Every day in healthcare, we speak two languages at once: the precise technical language of medicine and the everyday language of the families we care for. And unless we consciously translate, the gap between those two worlds becomes a schism. You might have noticed that English is not my mother tongue. German is. So every day at work I live in a not natural environment. A fish outside the water. I think in one language and speak in another, and translate constantly. This experience has made me acutely aware of how easily meaning slips away when we move between languages. And the same thing happens when we move between medical language and normal language. Medical information can easily get lost in the translation, especially when we ourselves are walking outside our linguistic comfort zone. And what about people who have lived their entire lives in only one language? Many native English speakers openly joke about never having learned another language fluently. They apologize for it, but they also expect the rest of the world to bridge the gap for them. And this is the expectation that quietly sneaks into medicine. I speak clearly. Why don't they understand? I explained it. Why are they still confused? I said it once. Why do I need to repeat it? Because translation is a skill, and if you have never had to learn it, you may not realize you're missing it. Medical information can easily get lost in the translation when we lack the awareness that translation is work. Let me tell you a story that might open your eyes. A friend of mine moved from the United States to a European country. Determined to integrate, he started learning the local language. 3 months in, he said to me, "Honey, this is weird. I know exactly what I want to say, but the words won't come. I feel like an idiot." And after a deep sigh, I just replied, "Welcome to the club." This is how the rest of the world feels when we are forced to speak English. And this is exactly how our patients feel when we expect them to understand medical terminology. Medical information can get easily lost in the translation when we expect the patient to bridge the gap themselves. So let's take a closer look at why translation is harder than we think. There are several obstacles that stand in our way. For example, the curse of knowledge. Once we know something, we forget what it's like to not know it. And there is a podcast about this topic. The complexity. Medical concepts often require nuance, uncertainty, and layered explanation. There's also a podcast about this topic. Fear and stress. Anxious parents cannot process information at full capacity. Speed. We think faster than they can absorb. And uncertainty. Patients long for clear answers, which we can't give them. And beneath all of these lies the English problem, the lack of awareness that translation is a skill which we must learn. So how do we learn the skill of translation? Translation is not a one-step process. It requires building a plain language vocabulary for medical concepts. Practicing those until it feels natural. Accepting the discomfort of simplifying complex ideas. Checking understanding instead of assuming it. Using metaphors, drawings, and analogies to make invisible processes visible. At first, this feels awkward, even childish. But for the child and parent, it is a lifeline. Our pediatric patients and their parents are like fish out of the water with our medical language. We must help them breathe. In a nutshell, medical information can easily get lost in the translation. Our patients live outside the world of medical terminology, and it's our responsibility to bridge the gap. Translation is a skill, one we must learn, practice, and refine, so that children and parents can understand, participate, and feel safe. Thanks for listening to From Fear to Fun. Next time, we move from the aspect of respect, where we established a mutually shared language, to engage. This is the third step on our journey from fear to fun, and here we are looking at simple, practical solutions for all the previously. Thanks for listening to From Fear to Fun. Next time, we move from the aspect of respect, where we aimed to establish a mutually shared language, to engage. This is the third step on our journey from fear to fun. Here, we will look at simple, practical solutions for all the previously mentioned problems. I hope you are becoming curious. Until then, remain curious, offer connection, and keep moving from fear to fun.